Hi, so I wanted to do a video on the books that I own that I haven't read yet, and that I just wanted to share those books and then just tell you what the summary is of the book. And if you're interested in it, you can go ahead and read it for yourself. But I decided to do young adult and adult books. So I guess let's get started. So this one is Holes, which is like based off of that popular Disney movie. The movie is based on the book. The book came first. So the main character, his name is Stanley Yelnats. Isn't that right? Yeah. Which is basically Stanley and Stanley spelt backwards. He has like this curse that goes down his family. And then he gets sent to this boys detention center where basically they're what they do every day is just dig like holes in the sun. And it's supposed to be like some kind of correctional type of program. And they have to dig the holes, I think like 6 feet wide and 6 feet deep or something like that. Oh, stand corrected, 5 feet wide and 5 feet deep. And then like at some point, I haven't seen it. I haven't read this book, but I have seen a movie when I was younger a few times. I know like he discovers some secrets and stuff of the past, and then he finds out that I could be wrong, but they're digging the holes because the guy that runs the detention center camp thing, he wants them to dig up like valuable stuff basically. These books that I'm presenting to you, well, the first few ones, these few ones, it's from a recent book haul, so I just wanted to add those. It's 8 books that I got recently. Next is The Vanishing Half by, I said half, didn't I? Half, by Britt Bennett. So The Vanishing Half is about these 2 sisters who I believe are twins because the description says that they are identical. And both of them grew up in a southern black community, and they both ran away at the age of 16. And like one sister, like fast forward to the future, one sister is living in their town that they ran away from. And it says that she lives with her black daughter. And then her sister's married to a white man. And she's actually like passing as white even though she's not white. So that's the basic gist of The Vanishing Half. The next one is Bruised by Tanya Boteju. I might be butchering her name and I'm so sorry. I could be wrong, but I feel like this book is like bordering on the topic of self-harm because basically the main character, the girl, she gets in a car accident and I think her parents die, right? Yeah, her parents died, but she survived, but she was like left with bruises and stuff. So she joins like roller derby, and the one thing that she's getting satisfaction out of in the roller derby is getting injured, like getting bruises and stuff. And it says something about like matching the pain on the inside using the outside kind of thing. I could be a little bit wrong, but I get like a sense of self-harm in my opinion from this. So the next is The Shape of Thunder by Jasmine Warga. I actually read one of her books called My Heart and Other Black Holes, and I actually enjoyed it. It was a good book. I read it like several months ago, maybe last year. So there's this girl named Cora, and her sister was in a school shooting, and she ends up losing her sister in that school shooting. And then there's Quinn, who from the description they just said that she has to live with what her brother did. So I'm guessing maybe her brother did the school shooting, but I'm not sure. And it's supposed to like kind of wrap up where like the two girls intermingle and they pretty much like their friendship heals each other, that kind of narrative. This one is called The Sea is Salt and So Am I by Cassandra Hart. So this story takes place in Maine, and it speaks about like this devastating hurricane, the storm that comes. There's a girl named Harlow Prout. Is it Prout? Yeah, and it says that she's just dedicated to saving her hometown in Maine because of the storm and stuff like that. And then there's a boy named Tommy who's suffering from depression, and he has a broken relationship with his brother. His twin brother, another twin story. There may be a trigger warning for maybe, I'm not sure, for suicidal ideation, because in the description it says his depression hits a new low and he's not trying to fix anything. And it also says that Tommy goes out for a swim that he doesn't intend to survive. So basically he was trying to drown. So that's what I take from it. This Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I think for this one, since it doesn't really like tell you a full description, I'm just going to read what it says on the back. It's very short. Belly, who's the main character. Belly measures her life in summers. Everything good, everything magical happens between the months of June and August. Winters are simply a time to count the weeks until the next summer. A place away from the beach house, away from Susanna, and most importantly, away from Jeremiah and Conrad. They are boys that Belly has known since her very first summer. They have been her brother figures, her crushes, and everything in between. But one summer, one wonderful and terrible summer, the more everything changes, the more it all ends up just the way it should have been all along. I just read the description and I was like, yeah, this seems like something I would enjoy. Then I have She's Too Pretty to Burn by Wendy Hurd. So I know in this book there's a character named Veronica who's a photographer, and she has a friend named, it says that he's into chaotic performance art. So they're both, you know, types of artists. But then comes along a character named Mick, and they start to fall in love because, of course. And it's kind of a thriller because there's like 2 murders in the book, and you know, they found the bodies, and so it's supposed to be I would consider it a thriller, right? I'm trying to see if it says it on the book. Doesn't really say, but it sounds like it says right here, 2 girls, 1 fire, a chance to be remembered. So this is supposed to be a funny book. It's called We Are Never Meeting in Real Life. This is nonfiction. Samantha Irby, she writes a bunch of essays in here, and it's supposed to be super hilarious and stuff like that. I started it, but I didn't even finish. I want to finish. It's not because I don't like it. I do. I found it like very entertaining the first 6 pages. But it's just like different essays. Like one of the essays that she wrote in here is called Fuck It Bitch Stay Fat. And then there's one that's called I'm in Love and It's Boring. So I definitely recommend her book. She's a Black author too, which I absolutely love. And yeah. So that's the books in my haul. Now the rest are just books that I've been like hoarding because I buy books and I buy books and I buy books and I don't read them, but I want to read them. So this is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. I had started this but never really finished it. And me not finishing a book isn't related to me liking the book or not. It's just I start stuff sometimes and it's hard to stop. I mean, hard to continue. Okay. So I know it started with this girl and she is in a psychiatric hospital, and I know that she has a history of self-harm, and that's how she kind of ended up, part of the reason why she's there, because she was self-harming pretty badly, using broken glass and stuff like that. And I know she's having like problems with her parents. I'm trying to remember, something happened to her father, and then her mother is really like not supportive or helpful at all. This beautiful cover belongs to You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno? Yeah, something like that. But isn't the cover just so gorgeous? Look at that. So the main character of this book name is Magpie. because what other name would fit? So her name is Magpie, and she's like being bullied in school. Like she is called like a slut and stuff like that, and she hangs out with a group of people that are misfits or don't really fit in. And she gets a notebook, and she kind of starts coming up with this fantasy world in her head called Near, like Near, Near. And she does this not only because of the treatment at school, but because like her father cheated on her mother, and her mother has a drinking problem. And so this is just a chance for her to escape in her own little world. It's supposed to be like a perfect place. And then it says that at some point she uses her fantasy world called Near for revenge. This is The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer. Sorry. By Michelle Hopkins. I'm sorry. So it's this girl. She's dealing with amnesia. She has no memory of the last few days. She was in an accident. They didn't say what kind of accident, but I'm guessing it's a car accident. But she was in the accident, and only she survived. And her friends that she was in that accident with, they passed on. And because of that accident and the stuff that brought on by the accident, her family moved to a different state to try to escape it and stuff. It's supposed to be like a thriller because she meets a guy who knows a little bit too much about her, and I think she starts hallucinating because it says something about, what did it say? It says that she starts seeing things that can't possibly be there. So I'll see what direction that this book takes it. But I absolutely love Ellen Hopkins. This is her book Rumble. She's one of my favorite authors, and I just love how she like writes in verse. It's not poems, it's like a storyline. It's just she writes her stuff like this in verse, and that's why I just love, and I love her plots in her book too, and her writing. I just love it. So this is Rumble. I haven't read this yet. Okay, I do want to read the first part of the description to you guys. So Matthew Turner, it says, his younger brother Luke was bullied mercilessly after he was outed to their entire school. And when Luke called Matt on the brink of suicide, Matt was too wrapped up in his new girlfriend to answer the phone. Now Luke is gone, and Matt's family is falling apart. So even with there's like a content warning, trigger warning for talk of suicide and homophobia. And Matt, because of him losing his brother in that way, he holds like a lot of anger towards himself and towards the bullies that, tormented his brother Luke. And then I know that he has a friend named, is it Hayden? Yeah, so her name's Hayden, and her father starts complaining basically about to the school to ban certain books that have homosexuality in it. So yeah, like I said, there's homophobia in this book. So if that upsets you, you probably should skip this one. This is Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. Hope I pronounced that right. It's about a girl named Sam who has purely obsessional OCD. Then Sam discovers like a poetry group at her school. I guess like the whole theme was supposed to be like, she has OCD, but she finds like refuge in the poetry club. Another Ellen Hopkins book that I haven't read called Identical, also written in verse. It's about these two twins named Kaylee and Rianne, and they're identical, and they both have their own dark secret. And then it says something about like one twin has to help the other twin. They don't really say what their dark secrets are, but both of them have a dark secret. Coming at you with Ellen Hopkins again. Impulse. Now, I started reading this book several times, like when I was in high school, and I never finished it. I was started from the beginning and then stop, and then start from the beginning and stop. But it was a good book from what I have read. It's just, so I think it took place in an inpatient hospital. They're in some kind of treatment setting, and it it follows like the different people there and their experiences, so it'll change different point of views basically. So there's Tony, pills, drugs, stuff like that. Vanessa self-harms like through cutting, so trigger warning for that, obviously. And then there's Connor, who is dealing with like suicidal ideation, trigger warning for that. And they're, they spend some time getting treatment, and they also are there to support and uplift each other. Yeah, kind of like that. I'm sure you guys heard of Stargirl. Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. I started this but haven't finished either. Basically, it follows a character named Stargirl. And it's like a book about like non-conformity. It's about this girl, and she's like very like different, and I don't know if I would say eccentric, but like she's just very different than everyone else, but not in a bad way, in like a unique, good way. And people start turning on her because, people are afraid of different people. People fear what they don't understand. And I remember she plays a ukulele, and she has a pet rat, and she dresses like very eccentric and stuff like that. And people were threatened by that, basically. But I guess it's considered a coming of age novel. Like Stargirl learns to accept herself the way she is and embracing the fact that she is unique and she's an individual. This I started but didn't finish either is Letting Anna Go by Anonymous. So yeah, I started this. I didn't finish, but it's about a girl who's an athlete, and she started losing weight like naturally at first, and then it turns into anorexia. So she didn't develop anorexia until she started losing weight, and then it got out of control basically. So that's what Letting Anna Go is about. This is a series, but this is the first book in a series, and I haven't read it or started reading it. Never mind, I lied. I did start it. I read like the first page. So it's called No Safety in Numbers by Dana Lawrence. So there's like a mall, and a biological bomb was found in there. Like biowarfare almost, if you want to think about it like that. And so the mall quarantines everyone in there. So they're like pretty much kind of stuck. And as more time goes on, they run out of resources, and people start getting a little antsy, and because if you're stuck in a mall for an extended period of time in one space, like that's gonna like cause some problems. And so it follows 4 teenagers who are trying to find a way to escape. But not only are they trying to find a way to escape, they're trying to help their family, like their parents and stuff too. This is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste, I think it's Ng. I could be wrong. I'm so sorry if I pronounced these people's names wrong. I try my best. So, what to say about this? I saw the Hulu. Was it Hulu? Yeah, it was. I seen the series like several months ago. And then I found out it was a book, and I was like, I need to get this book because the show was so good. The only thing is I started reading this, and honestly, like the beginning's pretty boring, but I do want to continue reading it because I want to read the exciting parts. So there's a mother named Mia, and she has a daughter named Pearl. Mia and Pearl are African American, and they moved to this town in Cleveland called Shaker Heights. And it's like, it has this like stereotypical like perfect, everyone's like perfect, everyone's put together, that kind of like atmosphere. It's a suburban area, everyone's just like, this is our perfect town, And then Mia and Pearl, they moved to Shaker Heights, and Mia's an artist, and she's also a single mother. And so they don't really fit the whole like mold of the people in Shaker Heights. I hope that makes sense. And then there's a lady, am I getting this right? She was buying a place. Yeah. So there's a Caucasian woman named Elena, and she was having property that can be rented out. And so Mia and Pearl, her daughter, they are renting a property from Elena, and Elena starts getting into their business and stuff like that. So yeah, and I just remember watching the show and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is great. Then we got 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott. So there is a girl, and no, I didn't see the movie. I did not. I want to read the book first before I get to the movie. So there's a girl named Stella, and she has some kind of lung condition. I'm not really sure what it is, but she has a serious lung condition, and she is on the lung transplant list. And so she has, because of her lung condition, she has to stay 5 feet away from other people. Oh, it's called 5 Feet Apart, but it says that she has to stay 6 feet away. And then there's a character named Will, which he's sick as well. I'm not sure with what, but he's also in the hospital with her. And I know there's like a romance theme where that they start falling for each other, but it's like they have to keep this distance because of Stella's condition and stuff like that, like stay like a few feet away from each other, and that begins to like complicate things because they're falling for each other. And this is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado, and this is a book of short stories, and it's supposed to be like thriller like stories, so it's not much to really explain. It's just a book of short thriller stories. This is Love Letters to the Dead by Ava de Lara, I think. So there's a girl named Laurel, and she's given like this English assignment where you write a letter to someone who is dead, deceased. And so the first person she chooses is Kurt Cobain, and she chooses Kurt Cobain because her sister Mary loved Kurt Cobain, and she died young, just like how Kurt Cobain died young. I'm sorry, her name's not Mary, it's May. So then Laurel, she ends up getting a notebook full of just letters that she writes to dead famous people. And the book says like Janis Joplin, Heath Ledger, Amelia Earhart, Amy Winehouse, people like that. But the new letters that she's writing, she doesn't give to her English teacher, basically. This is just for her personally. And so the book kind of goes on this journey of her writing these dead famous people about like her life. It's almost like a journal, but she's making it like letters to these famous people. And through her journey of doing this, she kind of comes to terms and stuff and figure out what happened to her sister May, basically. This is Cut by Patricia McCormick. I started reading this like years ago. I don't know if you can see that. I started it years ago, but I never finished it. It's a very short book, so this is something I could read in one day, honestly. But it's about a girl named Callie who is dealing with self-harm, cutting type. So trigger warning for that. And so she's sent to a residential treatment center, basically, to get treatment because, she was depressed, she was cutting herself, stuff like that. And then while she's there, she's like quiet, like she doesn't talk to anyone. And she's like purposely staying quiet is what I mean, like kind of mute. I don't know. It just basically just talks about like her time in the hospital and her journey and stuff like that. But yeah. This is Where She Went by Gail Foreman. This is the sequel to If I Stay. I read If I Stay like years ago. Like I was in high school, so that was years ago. And I can't really remember the plot, honestly. But this is like the sequel, the second book. And basically this book is just talking about Mia and what's his name? Adam's relationship and how it develops. And like her healing the past and like working on the future. Like, I don't know. It's a sequel to If I Stay. So if you read If I Stay, you want to know the continuation of the story, then that's the sequel. This is An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. It's supposed to be a funny book. So it's about a guy named Colin, right? And he was in a relationship 19 times, and every woman that he has dated, name is Catherine. And it's basically about like his journey of what was it called? Trying to predict the future and work through him finding the right one for him. That's all I have. This right here, I started reading before. I think I read like the first chapter, but it was good from what I read so far. But The List by, oh gosh, Siobhan Vivian. So there's this high school. Is it high school? There's this school, and every year they have this list that goes around, and they pick 2 girls from each grade, and they say who's the ugliest and who's the prettiest. It is more to it, but basically that's just the gist of it, and a bunch of drama is, you know, developed from like this list going around their school. This is As Dead as It Gets by Katie Allender. This is the 3rd book in a series called Bad Girls Don't Die. I read the first 2 books in high school, so I am not too familiar anymore of the first 2 books, like the plot, because it was so long ago. So in this one, a girl named Alexis, she witnesses Lydia's death, who's, you know, another girl, and she ends up dealing with Lydia's ghost, like being very angry and, you know, visiting her. And Lydia, her ghost, she wants revenge basically on Alexis, but she starts like attacking other people too. Like she starts wanting revenge on other people. I'm gonna put both of these at the same time. This is The Mortal Instrument, City of Bones, which is the first book of the series by Cassandra Clare. And this one's City of Angels. This is the 2nd book. The first book, I read like maybe the first 3 chapters before I never finished. There's more than 2 books in the series. There's like several books, but I'm putting both of these together. And it's like in a world where like there's these people called shadow hunters, and there's also werewolves and there's vampires. The shadow hunters, they keep the vampires and werewolves like in line. That's what it says. They keep them in line. And they also like rid the world of demons. And Clary, who's one of the main characters, she meets another character named Jace. And then Clary, she ends up getting attacked by a demon actually. And there's something called the sight, and they say that she got the sight. And the sight is basically the ability to see these shadow hunters. So yeah, there's a lot more to it because it's a whole dang series, but I only have the first 2 books. Didn't even finish the first book, but I want to. And yeah, voila, Paper Towns by John Green. So as far as I can tell, it's a character named Quentin and a character named Margot, and they have feelings for each other, and then their relationship kind of faded, but then like she comes back into his life and they have like this awesome night or whatever, and then all of a sudden she's like very distant and like acting mysterious and stuff, and it says like he has to like find clues and stuff that she's left, and I don't know, the plot's a little bit not that detailed, but that's Paper Towns. And no, I didn't see the movie. This is Don't Close Your Eyes by Lisa McCann. It's kind of a thick book. It's thick. It has like around 600 pages. And it's about a girl named Janie. I think that's how you pronounce it. Janie. And she gets sucked into other people's dreams. And so there's a guy named Cable. Like, not like cable, like TV. Cabel. And she starts getting sucked into his nightmares, basically. And she, you know, sees how disturbing his psyche is and stuff like that. And then they end up teaming together, and they learn ways that they can like work with Janie's ability to be, you know, brought into other people's dreams. And then it says they grow closer. So I don't know if there's a romance aspect to this, but maybe. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. The only thing I can really remember about this book is it's about a family called the Sinclairs, and if I remember correctly, they put out this image about being the perfect family and stuff like that, but they're actually like full of a lot of lies and stuff, so something like that. So I have here the first book of the Game of Thrones series, which is also called A Song of Ice and Fire. Honestly, I bought this book when Game of Thrones was like most popular, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy the book and read the first book. I never read the first book though. The print is very tiny though, but I know it has something to do with like summers can last a decade. They say that, and then there's the winters, and the winters last like a very long time, or it can last a lifetime. And they say like winter is coming again. And according to the back, because this is what I have to rely on right now, the plot contains things like tragedy, betrayal, victory, terror, allies and enemies, and it says to win the deadliest of conflicts, which is the Game of Thrones. So that probably wasn't very helpful. I'm sorry. I have the Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. The only book that I read by him was The Last Song, and I saw the movie The Last Song as well. I remember enjoying The Last Song, but this one is about, well, it takes place during a time of after World War II. And so there's a girl named Allie, and years ago she fell in love with Noah, and she is on the way to getting married to some rich lawyer, but in the back of her mind she's still thinking about Noah, the guy that she was with before, like long ago. So that's pretty much what the story is based around. Oh, and then there's letters that are written in here too, that they sent to each other, but I'm probably gonna butcher the name of this, but Miss Peregrine's, is that right? You can yell at me in the comments. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. And what I think is cool about this book is there's some pictures and stuff in here, like just random pictures, but then also there's like the story. So Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children is an abandoned orphanage. And then this teenager, Jacob, he comes there. Well, he was like going on a journey or a walk or something. I can't remember, but he comes across the abandoned orphanage. As he looks through the orphanage and everything, he figures out that the kids, the children that lived there, they weren't just peculiar, they were dangerous. And the orphanage itself was like isolated and is like a deserted place. Basically, it was isolated away from the rest of society. Okay, this is The Future of Us by Jay Asher and Carolyn Mackler. Jay Asher is the same author of 13 Reasons Why. This is actually a library book, but it's a library book from my high school, which I graduated from 6 years ago. No, more than 6 years ago. 7 years ago, almost 8. Wow, I'm old as dirt. But, you know, it's too late. I don't know, I just never returned it. But the book is set in the 90s. It's set in 1996. And so this is during the age of American Online. Or is it America Online? America Online. And so they go on a computer and they see that they're like logged into Facebook, but Facebook wasn't around yet, so they were like pretty confused. And then when they looked on their profile, they saw that they were looking at their future, basically, like their future. They sorry, they basically look on there and they see their future selves on Facebook. And it says they see their spouses, their careers, their homes, their status updates is all there. So, yeah, pretty interesting concept. And I know they have like pages in here where they're like chatting, like instant messaging, basically. This is a current library book that I have checked out of my local library. I think like a couple months ago. This is called Almost American Girl by Robin Ha. I think it's pronounced Ha. I hope so. And this is a graphic novel. So, and the artwork is really well done. So it follows this girl, and she lives with her single mother in Seoul, Korea. And then she ends up relocating because of her mom to Alabama. Now, of course, Robin's devastated because she's like, you know, it's hard to move, especially when you're young like that. So she starts attending, this American school. She doesn't understand English, and she's having trouble trying to succeed in school with the language barrier. So she's like struggling basically. And then her mom signs her up for like a comic contest. No, I'm sorry. Her mom signs her up for a comic class, a comic drawing class. It opens up a bunch of like windows for her and opportunities, and things start to improve basically after joining this comic drawing class. It's actually a memoir. If you see at the top, it says an illustrated memoir. So yeah, super good. Well, I haven't read it yet, but I mean, I can tell it's gonna be good, and the artwork is just so beautiful. And so this book is called Anxious People. Long story short, there's like an apartment open house, and then someone comes and someone comes that's a failed bank robber, and he holds the people at the open house hostage basically. And then by the end of the book, it says that the people that are held hostage, they find out that the person holding them hostage needs more help than they do. Anxious People is a ingeniously constructed story about the enduring power of friendship, forgiveness, and hope, the things that save us even in the most anxious of times. This is part of a series, Darkly Dreaming Dexter. I'm pretty sure you may have heard of the TV show on Netflix. Yeah, it's still on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix. That's another story. Long story short, this is a series, but this is the first book of the series by Jeff Lindsay. And basically he's a serial killer, Dexter is, but he only kills bad people. And he has a job, what was he? A forensic something? Oh, he's a blood splatter expert basically, like for crime scenes and stuff. And so that's how he gets to know like the bad people that he kills. I Was Here by Gail Foreman. This has a suicide trigger warning. There's a girl, and she has a best friend named Meg, and she basically drinks a bottle of industrial strength cleaner, my bad. And when she did it, she was like alone in a motel room. And unfortunately, she ends up passing from that attempt. And so the book is basically Meg's friend trying to figure out like what went wrong, why did her friend kill herself, stuff like that. This is the first book to a series, The Daughter of Smoke and Bone. If you've read this, tell me what you think about it, because I don't know, I'm kind of second guessing this, but I got this like a long time ago. Never read it. Never even started to read it. I just know that the themes of the book says that it's a modern fantasy about forbidden love, an ancient and epic battle, and a hope for a world remade. So I would like to hear from somebody who's actually read this book. You don't even have to read the whole series, just the first book. Then right here I have the Asylum series. I read the first book, Asylum, but the last two books of the trilogy is Sanctum and Catacomb. I know the first book was about like this teenage boy having to stay in a psychiatric hospital with other people, but like it's like an abandoned psychiatric hospital, and it was because like the place that they usually stay at during the summer for school was like closed down or something, and all this like weird stuff starts happening. This book is also pretty cool because it comes with pictures as well. Like there's that. It's like every few pages there's like some kind of picture. And this one, super spooky, stuff like that. I also wanted to mention that I read the first book of the Maze Runner series, but I have this other book, and I don't think I brought it up here. I don't have it with me at the moment, but I have the first book and the second book all in one book. So it's like half of the book is like the first book and the half is the second book. I have to read the second one. And then also that's called what was the second book called? Okay, I can't remember. But the third book is called The Death Cure. So this is the third book in the series that I need to read. I haven't seen the movies either, because I kind of got in the space where I was like, I want to read it first, then watch it. This is Get Well Soon by Julie Hartpern. So this is supposed to be a little lighthearted book about a girl who has like severe depression, and her being sent to like a psych ward, and yeah, it's supposed to be kind of like lighthearted from what I think, and it's just about like her experience there and stuff like that. Yeah. This is a book of photography, but also like some poetry and some quotes, poetry, like just photos, and then like short little writings. And it's called Note to Self by Connor Franta. Yeah, Connor Franta. So, yeah. Are y'all tired of me yet? I got 4 more books, and these are very short books. So there's Lost and Found, which is like an urban novel. I think it's considered that, right? It's like a series. Yeah, they're like urban novels. So Lost and Found. So there's this girl named Darcy, and all these things start happening to her. She has like a stalker that follows her that she's been noticing. And I mean like actually following, not like following on social media. And she's a high school student, and then like she ends up getting like a note on her desk like threatening her. And then even with all of that, she also like her sister disappears. And so she spends the time in the book basically trying to figure out, you know, where's her sister, what happened, why is she being stalked, things like that. This one is called No Way Out by Peggy Kern. Oh, the Lost and Found book is by Anne Schraff. So yeah, this is No Way Out by Peggy Kern. So there's like a high school freshman named Harold, and his grandmother is very sick, and just in American fashion, the medical bills are piling up because that's what happens. And because of his living situation, there's a social worker that's threatening to put him in a foster home. And so, you know, his grandmother's sick, got all these medical bills, and so he becomes desperate. So then he starts selling drugs. He agrees to work with a neighborhood drug dealer. And so I think a good way to wrap this up is, it says, will Harold escape the violence that surrounds him, or will he become its next victim? This one's called Shattered by Paul Langan. The back of this says, Darcy Wills is desperate. A painful secret is ruining her closest friendships at Blueford High School, and an even deeper lie is tearing her family apart. Unwilling to lose the people she loves, Darcy must confront her past and the truth. What she discovers will change her world forever. And then there's this one called Names Will Never Hurt Me by Jamie Adolph. And it's basically talking about 4 different teenagers, and you know, they're being bullied by this bully. And like the last sentence of the description, it said, will they be able to turn to one another in a time to prevent a tragedy? So it's just them, like their lives intermingling. It's a very strong story on bullying. So hey, this video is now concluded. I just wanted to share 50 of the books that I own but haven't read yet. And there's other books too, but these are just the books that I consider like young adult or adult fiction. I'll make another video about the other genre stuff I have that I have not read. And it's ridiculous, but... So I hope you enjoyed this, and I want to make more book content. So if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing if you want to see more book-related content or lifestyle content, mental health, or... yeah. Okay.